And good morning, Rooster Boosters. This is the big guy coming at you with another interview from our interview series. We have Rooney player Anthony Parry with us today. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great. Enjoying finally this summer sort of weather, spring weather.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I know you're up in Vermont, and I'm back down here in New York, but it seems like we really both have a nice sunshine East Coast day, which is great. Um, so you were lucky enough to leave New York right as this COVID pandemic thing has started, and you told me you're up in Vermont. Without giving away any of your secret tips, but the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how have you been working out during this COVID situation? I mean, I'm sure it's been hard to get equipment. So, I mean, have you had any special techniques or anything you're using, or you just body weight exercises, or what's your routine?
I'm actually lucky. There's a gym up here that is open, but it only has dumbbells. It's a hotel gym, so nobody goes in there. So I've been doing a lot of work with 50-pound dumbbells, but also a big part of my workout has always just been working out outside and doing
Mm-hmm.
a lot of burpees and running and back and forth and that sort of thing. Um, but it's definitely a lot harder to keep your strength while lifting light dumbbells. But you just gotta do a lot of reps, a lot of sets.
Yeah, but it was funny. I was telling Trevor Cassidy and Alex McDonald, I'm like, you guys must be getting ripped now because you're not doing all that heavy weight that you're normally doing, where you're kind of keeping on that body mass, and you're doing those 50-pound dumbbells. So, I mean, I'm sure you're looking like Arnold right now, right?
I always look like Arnold, right?
Oh man, um, and it's funny because I think a lot of guys right now they're obviously disappointed with the 2020 season the way it ended. They're looking forward to 2021. Knock on wood. That's gonna go. We're gonna have a good opening day in 2021. What was your favorite part of the 2020 season? I know it was truncated, but did you have like a moment or a practice or something that you're just like, man, I'm in the MLR again, and I'm in with a good team and we got a shot. Like, did you have any great moments this season?
I mean, it was just great to be with the guys. Honestly, like it's so much fun hanging out with your friends and getting to play rugby and traveling all over the U.S. I mean, we pretty much, as you know, we have a good time everywhere we go, and we're all pretty good friends, great friends, I would say. So just being able to play rugby. I mean, I really enjoyed the new style. Like Greg kind of has a new style of practice that where you kind of just play a lot of rugby, which was a lot of fun. So I would say just the whole experience was a plus for me.
So that brings me to another question. I usually kind of get this to the middle of it, but I have a theory that the Greg style of practice, by giving you pretty much exactly what's going to happen minute by minute, does that kind of ease your anxiety of knowing, like, okay, I could just go and produce at practice. I don't really have to worry about what's going on because I know I'm going to stretch for 10 minutes. Then we're going to, play touch for 5 minutes. Then we're going to roll with the forwards for 7 minutes, and just know that somebody's going to tell me, okay, stop what you're doing. There's no extra rep, and we're just going to move on to the next thing. You think that kind of eases your anxiety and makes for a better practice for most teams?
I'm not sure. I mean, in that sort of respect, where it eases your anxiety. I mean, a lot of times it puts more pressure on you as well. Like if you're all right, you have 5 lineouts, whether you miss all of them or make all of them, that's it. So,
But isn't that more
it
like
does
representative of the
replicate.
game?
Yeah,
Like,
no, it does
yeah.
replicate like the pressure you feel in a game. Um, I mean, we felt very prepared every game. So I think the coaches did a great job of that, and the players as well.
Awesome. I got a chance to see you guys practice a couple times, and I got to say it was definitely an experience to see that type of system, see you guys move with it. And I kind of liked. I don't know how much you guys got into the season, but I know the first couple weeks you kind of had different squads. You'd practice with that squad for a week, and then you kind of switch it up, I believe. That way, everybody kind of got time together. It wasn't just like first 15, second 15 kind of stuff. It was everybody practicing together, because knowing that when you go on the field and you have substitutions, it's not always going to be your top 15. So that was a difference I saw anyway in practices. But I'm going to go on to some of these cheesy pie questions that everybody loves to answer. So the first one is, who is your favorite sports hero?
Derek Jeter.
The Jeets.
Yeah, I grew up. When I was a kid, I lived in New York City while the Yankees won three. They won four World Series, three straight. And Derek Jeter was the hero of
Are,
all of them, pretty much.
are you
So.
trying to shove this in my heart because I'm a Mets fan? Is that what you're doing right now?
Hey, I mean, I remember Game 1, 2000. Derek Jeter
Oh,
hitting a home
Jesus.
run on the first pitch of the first game in the World Series against the Mets, and I was like, I thought the Yankees were going to win the World Series every year. Derek Jeter was the best player ever, but he's
No,
definitely, I got to say, my sports hero.
absolutely. No, he's a great leader. He's an owner now, so I mean, I'm sure he's working just as hard as an owner to get the Marlins where they need to be. And being a tri-state guy, I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10, even if they were Mets fans, they'd probably say Derek Jeter was one of their favorite sports heroes. So going on to that theme of favorite things, do you have a favorite sports quote?
A favorite sports quote? Well, I know this is kind of corny now, but growing up, I always loved Kobe because of just how aggressive he was about getting what he wanted and his belief in himself. And one thing he said is he said someone asked him if he had a lot of friends, and he said, I don't have time for friends. Friends last a little while, banners last forever.
That's an awesome quote. I totally get that too, because I mean, you got to focus on being a professional athlete, and in this day and age, it's almost 24/7, 365. Everything you do kind of goes towards that goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just there's definitely, for whatever you're doing, you're going to have to sacrifice, hanging out and going to the bars or fooling around with your friends for being successful at something.
It's funny, after his passing, a lot of guys came out with stories. I forgot who it was, but I forgot. Yeah, it was a Lakers player, and Kobe had just retired, and he had new sneakers. And pre-game, he had given every player the new sneakers. Every player wore them for the first half of the game. They come back in at halftime, and they're down by 20. Kobe came in the locker room before the coach did, started pulling the sneakers off the guy's feet and throwing them in the trash, saying they didn't deserve them for the effort they just put out in the first half. And I swear to God, that's a true story based on a Lakers player told that to ESPN. I thought that was one of the greatest stories ever, because if you're going to carry yourself like that, you got to carry yourself like that 24/7. I loved it.
That's great.
So again, we're going favorite things. So favorite quote was the last one. So favorite sports movie.
Oh, Remember the Titans.
This seems to be a theme. You Butch, and Mikey Brown are really on the Remember the Titans.
Really, Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watch it annually, I would say.
Yeah, no,
there's a lot of great sports movies out there.
It's funny because one of the, I don't necessarily know if it's a sports movie or even a rugby movie, but when I was in college, the big one was Puddle Cruiser, which was the Broken Lizard guys. They apparently made a movie before Super Troopers. It was about this guy in college, and his girlfriend breaks up with him and then starts dating a rugby player from another school. And then he becomes a rugby player to try and get her back. It's the only time I've ever seen rugby in a movie. And then, Forever Strong.
Check that out. I didn't know. I thought Broken Lizard's first movie was like Club Dread or whatever.
No, yeah, it was called Puddle Cruiser, yeah. And super low budget, but really funny and had a lot of rugby elements in it. And
those guys play rugby?
I don't think so, but they're all
Colgate.
they're all Northeast guys, so I mean they had to have been around it. I mean, I playing at a Nerfview, it was like every friggin' team and their mother had a program, even if it was just a developmental program. But great movie. Remember the Titans, love it. That was one of the movies they used to show us if we couldn't go out during recess when I was a kid, believe it or not. That and The Sandlot. So we watched that many times. Again, we're sticking with the favorites. Here's the theme. Do you have a favorite song to listen to prior to the match, or is it more of just like whatever headspace you're in, you pick up like a song?
Yeah, I would say it's more the latter. I'm really into music. I'm sure that if you asked around, the guys would tell you I'm always listening to music, and famously have listened to music during personal warm-up at the games, which is a bit controversial. But I always change. I make different playlists all the time, so I'm always listening to what playlist I've made or what's getting me into it. Really, like sometimes you want to go super hardcore, like headbanging stuff. Then sometimes you want to just chill out too before a game and make sure you're thinking properly.
Yeah, I had to kind of
really matters.
I had to amend that question because I was like favorite. I asked Butch the first time. He's like, I don't listen to music. It's like I study my notes. I'm like, what? I was like, so maybe it's since it's different for everybody, I got to amend that question. So that's why I'm like, do you
Did
have a
Butcher just say
favorite?
that? He studies his notes.
Oh, and then Mikey Brown said the same thing. He's like, I'll probably listen to a little bit, like maybe in the car or on the ride there, but when I get there, I'm trying to study the notes and what we did in practice. Like, man, Mikey and Butcher, I mean, two hookers of the same ilk, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen either of them studying notes before a game, I gotta say.
Well, now we have the real scoop. We have the real scoop. They lied to me. They're lying.
Maybe they do. I mean, I don't know. I actually do write things down as well that I read before a game. Just kind of, I try to manifest, what you want to happen. So I'll write keys down and stuff like that.
Because if you put it in the ether, you put it in the ether and it'll happen.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people say that.
Oh, it definitely helps. I would say because I put stats down even like all right, like this is how much work I want to do in the game, and obviously it matters what's going on in the game.
Definitely
that, but a lot of times it all works out.
So here's a question that's off my list, and it's. I'm not sure how you would answer it. I think I know how you would answer it. But what style front row player are you? So, Patty and James are great in the scrum. Patty has a little footwork with his little kicks. But for me, I feel like you're more of an offensive threat as a front rower. What do you think? How do you think you play?
Well, obviously, set piece is the most important thing if you're a front rower. So you always want that to be your biggest strength. But I think naturally for me, yeah, probably my easiest strength is just running with the ball. I've always kind of had a forward foot and can find little gaps here or there. No big runs, but I always fall forward. And then, yeah, I'd say that's the easiest part of the game for me. But I honestly work a ton on, defense. I really want that to be my biggest strength.
I think every front rower is a great defender. I've hardly seen a front rower that's not going to go for the tackle and generally 9 times out of 10 complete it by himself. So it's funny in that respect. I don't even see front rower. I say most of the pack defensively, and probably every rugby team is their better defense. And then you have, a couple centers that might go out there like Will Leonard and lay some lumber. But I think one of your biggest traits on the rugby field is the way you run offensively and getting through those little gaps. Because it does push the ball forward, because if you stagnate a little bit on those phases and you're not really gaining those meters, you can kind of see the energy level drop. And one of those things is when you come in, that energy level starts to creep back up again as you're just moving a little bit forward. I think that's something unique that you have that a lot of front row guys don't have, is that vision to see a gap, almost like Marcus Walsh does when he fakes, when he picks the ball and fakes it out and hits that gap right next to the breakdown. You kind of do the same thing with a bigger frame. And I think it surprises a lot of guys. And then they have to realize, oh, I have to defend closer to that breakdown because Parry might take one. So I think that's something.
Thanks, I appreciate it. That's obviously always been like I said, the easiest part of the game for me. But
it seems like it come natural. The vision,
scrumming, and defense.
I
hope to be my biggest strengths.
No, absolutely. But I think you naturally have a vision to see that line and where that gap is to say, okay, I can pick it and kind of go clean. Maybe if I turn my body a little bit and get skinny, or I'm going to hit 2 guys anyway. Let me go down with support and take another phase, but we moved a little bit forward, and it comes with vision and experience, and you have that, and it's great to see it. It's fun. I like watching you play. That's one of my biggest things. I'm sure I've told you that quite a lot.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. Honestly, I have to give some credit to Butch. I worked a lot with Butch the last couple of years on footwork, getting around guys on, those, we call them A balls, or, just off the 9. Which is hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get forward front foot there, especially if it's a slow ball.
Absolutely. But I think good players pick that ball and go just to reset the phase, because they know, again, stagnation. If they don't have the stagnation, they keep moving forward. You get a little bit of energy. So my next question is, how do you guys make practice fun? I know it's so regimented, but how do you and your teammates make practice fun?
Oh, well, it's regimented like what you were saying earlier, but I mean, playing touch against each other, or touch, which really means like we're tackling you. I love doing that. Just competing against the guys is a lot of fun. I mean, obviously we all have inside jokes with each other and joke around, and I just love to compete, especially against your competition. Like, You know, like I love going against James. I love going against Patty. Will, Brian, McKellar, Jonas. We have a lot of fun together. Honestly, we really do. And we
Yeah, it
all are
seems
there to
like
play rugby. You know what I mean? So like, there's
yeah,
nothing we'd rather be doing. So that's what makes it fun.
that's great because it seems like the camaraderie drives the point home in practice. Hey, we're gonna have fun playing rugby because that's what we're here to do, and we're gonna get some work done. So I love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to play, and it's hard to get on the team. So everyone's going really hard in the practices.
That's great because the harder you go, the better you play. And we're gonna go with another pre-match thing. If you have them, some guys don't. But how do you calm any pre-match butterflies you might have?
Uh, um, no, I think it's natural to be a little excited before a match. Something big is going on. You want to perform well. I just try to focus it as much as I can. Like I was telling you, I like to write down like my goals, what I want to focus on, my keys for the game. And I said that I laughed a little bit because I used to do keys for the game. Do you remember that? But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll do that, listen to music. But I think the most important thing is just going hard in the warm up, like getting as much contact as you can in the warm up to get prepared for the game.
Do you think that
games
kind
are
of
kind of weird? It's just like, all right,
yeah?
it's time to go. Let's start.
Do you think that hard contact in the warm up with the pad, or even if you're just slapping bodies around a little bit, you think that kind of takes the edge off? I guess that that first hit, really you got it out beforehand.
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely prepares you mentally and physically for what's about to come. And you want to be a physical player, especially as a front rower. So I try to get as physical as possible before the game.
Absolutely. So this is a question that I think I've said this now in every interview. I asked Butch, and he had a completely different answer than I thought. That I didn't expect his answer. So I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite pre-match meal?
Pre-match meal? Wait, Butch told you he didn't eat, I bet.
Yeah, he does the intermittent fasting, and he's like, morning, early, if it's too early, I don't eat. If it's too late, I don't eat. So if like an afternoon game is perfect. He wants every game started at 3 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's hard to get your pregame meal down when you're traveling in hotels all the time. You just get what you can, but when I'm at home, I usually try to get like a big like fruit salad, and honestly some bacon, egg, and cheeses from the from the bodega on the way.
With an Arizona iced tea.
No, I don't. I'm pretty good about that stuff. Like I'll just drink the water or Gatorade or something, but definitely a big fruit salad and bacon, egg, and cheese. It's usually 2 bacon, egg, and cheeses. Probably. I mean, I don't know how my coach is gonna.
I mean, as long as you're performing in the game, who cares what you're eating? I mean,
yeah.
As long as you're staying relatively healthy.
Bacon, egg, and cheese. It's good for you.
And you're going to be expending a lot of energy throughout the day, so it's not like you're eating 2 bacon, egg, and cheeses every day and just sitting on the couch. So I can see how that's almost a cheat meal for most professional athletes, probably going in before a game. As long as you're feeling good about what you're eating, who cares what it is? So this is another interesting one. If you could play another professional sport, and it doesn't have to be dependent on size, like I told Mikey Brown, just because you're a big guy doesn't mean you could have to say NFL lineman or anything like that. But what other professional sport would you want to play, and what position?
I would want to be a F1 driver.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool. I'm a big racing guy. I love F1.
Oh, really? Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, the F1 is to be one of the 20 guys with a seat in the F1 and travel the world. That would be the best.
That'd be awesome. I mean, just like Nürburgring, you go down to Italy and race, and do Silverstone in England, right? Oh, that'd be freaking awesome. Did not expect that from you. I didn't know you were a big race guy. That's very exciting.
I think it's so cool. I mean, those guys. I mean, it's incredible what they do. Going 200 miles an hour.
It is. I think people don't realize, and even NASCAR. And I know most Formula One guys are like NASCAR, but think about it: NASCAR, no lights, no signals. You can't turn your head, and you have really no side view mirrors. So you're racing, not knowing what's around you, and you can't even turn your head to check. And most Formula One guys, they don't even have the vision. I mean, while they do have the mirrors, they really don't have the vision to move their head either with these new Hans devices. Yeah. So I think it's crazy, trying to tell people, hey, not only are you going to race, not only is there 20 to 43 other cars on the track, but you can't really see. So I always felt that there
In
was
NASCAR, there's a lot more passing with F1. You know?
yeah, oh yeah, well because the tracks are bigger, so I mean you
Yeah.
can run 3 wide, and you do have the spotters really help you because it is a longer race versus maybe the 20 or 25 laps you get in the F1. But in the F1, if you kind of fart on a wing and the wing will come off. So I'm always like, when I watch NASCAR, I'm always excited when they're kind of rubbing next to each other a little bit. That was interesting. I definitely didn't think you were going to say that.
What would you think I was going to say then?
I don't know. You seem like a hockey guy to me.
Hockey. I played hockey a little bit growing up. My high school was really, really good at hockey, actually.
Yeah.
But
well, because tri-state, I mean, I'm a tri-state guy too. So like, hockey, lacrosse, football, all really big sports, especially I went to a private school as well, high school. So those were always the big sports. So I've been playing hockey since I was 5. I didn't know. You just figured like a hockey guy,
We actually had a bunch of dudes from Rochester who'd come to my school to
really
to play hockey. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hockey
That's far. That's far.
Yeah. Well, it's a boarding
right.
school, so they go out and get the best players at everything.
Yeah, No, I went to a private school, but it wasn't boarding, so we still had the local schmucks like me play. But we were pretty good at football. I can't knock it. We were pretty good at football. So what is the best part about competing?
Well, in rugby, for example, I think, or in sports, the best thing is that you just have to go out when the time comes. You either perform or you don't. So you have that pressure of, all right, in the NLR, for example, every game I'm like, all right, like I want to play the best I've played thus far in my rugby career. And like I said, it's hard to make the team. It's hard to win games. So you really do need to put out your best every time you go out there. You don't know when you're going to get another opportunity. For example, we were playing in San Diego. I was calling coach trying to talk about whatever the next game we had at home.
Yeah.
And you never know when it's going to be your last time. So I think that's the best part about competing in sports is going out and having that pressure to really, be the best you can. And, whether it's 20 minutes or 80 minutes, it's really fun to try to prove to yourself and to your teammates and your competitors that you can play at a certain level every week.
Awesome. I love it. If you didn't have the drive to compete, you wouldn't be on an MLR team or just successful at life anyway. So this goes to my last question. This is probably the most in-depth question I ask. Oh, actually, wait, it's not I forgot. We talked about a question I wanted to ask you pre show. What is your favorite pitch you ever played on? Let's do that one first.
Yeah. So we did talk about this pre-show. I played on a lot of different pitches and had a lot of fun at a lot of different places. I know we were talking about in Switzerland, I got to play at a lot of great pitches. Luckily, the Swiss are very organized and very neat, so all the pitches were very nice. But I got to play this really great rugby game in the mud under, this huge mountain in the Alps out in Switzerland, which was pretty incredible experience. I think I have some pictures, but it was like raining too, so the pictures even don't do it justice, obviously. But yeah, I've had a lot of cool experiences all over. I feel like I played on terrible pitch in Mexico to amazing pitches out in Utah or
so my question. Okay, so here's
Montana,
a part B. Here's a part B to that. What was the worst pitch? The pitch in Mexico or the pitch in Vegas you guys just played on?
Oh, I wouldn't say worse. I mean, people get what they don't get to choose all the time whether they're playing on a great pitch or not. So I would say definitely Vegas was hard. There was a lot of wind there.
I couldn't believe the bounce. Well. It was like not just one bounce. It was a second bounce and maybe a third bounce. And that's rough.
been playing rugby his entire life. Never seen a ball bounce like that.
It's funny because the first one he let bounce, he was like, oh, it went through the end, and you guys came back, and I think you scored after that. And then that second one, everybody was giving him shit for it, and they're like, oh, they tell first-year rugby players, you never let it bounce. I'm like, I don't know about that because he's facing a 60-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah, his fault.
Yeah,
I would say that was his fault.
Yeah.
It bounced off the goalpost.
Yeah, percentage-wise, it should have done what the other one did, which was just go right out the back, and all of a sudden it was a good play. So
I think
yeah,
you'd be hard to find someone better in the at retrieving kicks in the MLR than Fode. So
me too. I was a harsh defender of him on that play because they were giving him a lot of shit. I didn't feel it was right either. All right, so now I'll get into my most in depth question, and this was a question that when I created these questions, I was like, how, because it's not just about you as being an athlete, as being a Rooster, as being a guy who plays a sport, but it's also about you as the person. So how does being an athlete make you a better person?
well, it's like you said, it's really hard to make an MLR team. To just get on the squad, to make the traveling team is hard. To make the starting 15 is really hard. So at every level, you're really, working very hard to achieve what you want, and it doesn't always happen the way you want. Like what we were talking about, being focused for a game, having that concept, like you don't always go out and play your best, or things happen to you that you can't control. So I think just being perseverance, I would say, is one of the best qualities you can have.
Awesome.
And what you learn, you learn to
Mhm.
fail, which is one of the most important things you can learn as a person.
Well, I think especially with Rooney, some of those losses are tough to take. Some of the close ones we've had. So I mean, you can only build on top of that loss, and what happened, why that loss happened. And it wasn't the referee, and it wasn't the calls, and it wasn't the way the ball bounced. It was, unfortunately, you guys putting in obviously not enough effort to do it. That's what I tell my kids when we lose a football game. It's not on the referee. It's on you guys not playing your best. And I think learning that at a young age and bringing that up as a person, as a professional in your life, because you're not going to always win. You're not always going to have good things happen, and that's how you learn that perseverance. So I think that's a great quality to have. And I think just about every athlete, even if they didn't play professionally or didn't have that chance, as long as they played on a good team with good teammates and good coaches, they learned that through all the big L's they get. And I've been through like 20 strong L's as an athlete. I mean, we lost a rugby match one time. I think it was 105-3. So
Wow.
yeah, it was we we played a B-side Dartmouth College team who just murdered us. I mean, absolutely murdered. It was like
Brakely on the team.
No. I no. He's a little old. He's a little younger than me. But it was like what they did was they wanted their track athletes, their spring track athletes, to do something in the fall, and they decided to put them on the track team. So they literally just took the ball and just gone. It was like playing sevens. It was the worst rugby I've ever played. I couldn't catch them. Obviously, look at me. And even to tackle them was hard. They were all shifty and wasn't easy. But you know what? I'm a better person for it. You're a better person for everything, all the stuff that's hard in your life. And I think that's a great view for all the young players there. We're just about out of time, Ant, and I really appreciate you coming on and giving some insight, being a professional rugby player, being an athlete, how that makes you a great person, all the fun stuff you guys get to do. If you guys don't know, you can go back into all of his Instagram. Anthony was big on Instagram in his days back in Switzerland. So you can take a look at all the fun times he had. We were all following him. It was a ton of fun. A lot of messages going around. You see what Parry's doing in Switzerland and this, that, and the other thing. It was great. So hopefully once we get out of this COVID, you can continue your travels. You seem to be that guy who likes to travel outside the U.S. and just do his own thing, which is awesome. I think more people should do that and broaden their horizons. So
the good thing about rugby, is there are rugby teams in everywhere. So
I know that was. I mean, you picked up a rugby team in Switzerland. You picked up a rugby team. How long were you in Mexico and you were playing rugby? 12 weeks, you said. And you picked up a team down there.
Yeah, I did. That was hard. I had to search pretty hard to find a team there, but I found it, and it was really a great experience. A great team. I still talk to some of those guys. It's been like, I don't know, 8 years since I was there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like just go. And that's another thing for young athletes. If you have to pick up and go somewhere, go out and find the thing you want to do, and you will find it. There's people out there doing it. So, Ant, thanks for being on. Is there anything you want to say to the fans?
I don't know. Just thanks for having me, and thank you for being so supportive of our team. I know the season, it's unfortunate, but we're going to come back bigger, better, and stronger next year.
Awesome. That's great. That's what I love to hear. Thanks, Anthony. And guys, this is the end of Rooster Booster time. I'll see you next week.